Oh,
Thank you for rescuing us, Kate.
no worries. Yay! That means my work is done here. Have a good night.
Brilliant. Right,
I'm
shall we
wearing a
start,
writing
everybody?
t-shirt today. The Great Gatsby. There we go.
That's brilliant.
All right. All right, there's
Brilliant.
Karen. Now we're all on.
All right, great. Let's start. I'm sure some may join us later, but I'd like to welcome everyone tonight, and I'd like to thank Kate Howe for actually inviting us all to a writing workshop, which is writing with and about your work workshop. And in this workshop, they propose that we'll expire the qualities of our affinity with materials and effect, how our material choices produce effect, and through moments of deep noticing, we'll begin to write. They assure us that no writing experience is necessary, so we're here to explore how writing through, with, and about our work can help reveal the work more deeply to all of us. And as she states, Kate, they state, you never know, you might end up with a new artist statement, a poem, a short thought experiment, or even an essay. So I'd like to thank everyone for being here to take the journey with us tonight. And over to you, Kate.
Thank you. Thanks, Sharon. Gosh, as you read that, I thought to myself, did I really say we were going to do all that? No worries. Okay. Just to set myself up for an impossible task. No, I actually don't. I don't believe that that's true. I'm really happy to be here to help us sort of wrangle our words. I think that Vonda, would you mind muting yourself?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. I'll
No
try.
worries. Just because I'll get like if I hear something, then I'm like, whoa, because I have ADD, so everything has equal importance. So if I hear something, I'm like, what should I be responding? Thank you, Vonda. So what I wanted to say was, I think everyone is a born writer in the same way that everyone is a born artist. I think that as we look at or are given examples of writing as like excellent writing or good writing, it recedes from us, especially for writing in a language that isn't our first language. So if you have a first language other than English, I want to invite you to experiment writing in it tonight. Because and you can even, if you choose to share your work back with us, you can even share it back in that language without worrying whether we understand it or not. And that I say that because I think it's really important, first of all, that our own thoughts and feelings and words are accessible to us. Um, and that it's not that we're trying to achieve something for somebody else. So, in exactly the same way, when you're making art, when you're making a painting, a drawing, a sculpture, whatever film, whatever your thing is, if you're trying to produce writing or for an outcome, to please somebody else, to specifically hit the brief before you hit the feel, the writing won't be good because it won't sound like you. It won't serve its purpose ultimately if you can't first go in and through and then out. This is what I think anyway. So, and again, I guess I should give a caveat that everything that I'm saying here tonight is utter and complete nonsense, and you are welcome to bin it immediately if none of it resonates for you. Or if it works for you, keep it. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to throw some stuff around. Um, so that's all I'm going to start with. I'm going to jump right into some reading. I've selected some pieces of reading about, some of it's about art, some of it's about writing. Um, and so I'm going to read to you guys in between some of these exercises. I'm going to give you a couple of exercises that Sharon and I have talked about just specifically for the purpose of you guys writing something up for this book, for this project. So it's really great because it can be anything like Sharon mentioned, it can be a song, a poem, a statement, an essay, because because there's no brief for the book. You're totally free like a blank canvas. And this can be really overwhelming and really frightening, or it can be an infinite invitation. And so the question is, are you brave enough to wade in? Go stand in that cold water of your fear and let's see what it feels like and what it sounds like. And because it's just us, it's a really safe space. So, we know and trust and care for each other here in this space. This is a space of growth and experimentation. So I'd really encourage you to at least write. And I'd invite you to share when it's time to share. But if you're not comfortable doing that, that's totally okay. All right? Okay. So I'm going to start with Helene Sisu. Do we all love? Yes.
My favorite.
Yeah, me too. And I was like, just one page, Kate, just one page. Okay, maybe a page and a half, just one, maybe half a page. Come with me on a little journey here. So, Sisu says, I would like so much this unknown, untorn page. Everything we read remains. I want the forest before the book, the abundance of leaves before the pages. I love the creation as much as the created, no, more. I love the Kafka of the journals, the executioner victim. I love the process 1,000 times more than the trial process, no, 100 times more. I want the tornadoes in the atelier. And think about that for your own writing tonight. A tornado in an atelier, all of the leaves that made the pages. This is the level of intensity I think that we get when we do acts of sort of radical noticing. So as we go forward, we're going to be looking at noticing aspects of our practice and then doing some writing about them. Tornadoes in the atelier. And what I love best are Dostoevsky's notebooks, the crazy and tumultuous forge where love and hate embrace, rolling around on the ground in convulsions which thwart all calculation and hope. No one knows who will be born of this possessed belly, who will win, who will survive. Does that sound a lot like painting or drawing or making art? Yeah, it's when you're in this place where you have surrendered and you're allowing the creative process to speak back to you, I think you really get this convulsions which thwart all calculation and hope. I mean, that sounds a lot like standing in front of my painting sometimes. And no one knows who will be born of this possessed belly. So Sisu is not saying be neat, be tidy, know where you're going before you start, have a 3-point outline, have a beginning, middle, and an end. She's saying eat the trees and vomit the paper, have a tornado in the atelier, and have your writing born of a possessed belly, right? So I thought that might be a good way to start us. So what I'd like you guys to do is we're just going to jump right into it. I'd like you to take a moment and think about the materials that you use and the materials that you'd like to use. So things you have already got, things that you already use and things that you have this desire to use. And I'd like you just to make a list. So fat oil pastels, thin oil pastels, shitty old student art tube oils, coils of rope, la la. Make a list. You have 2 minutes on your market site go. If you get through your list really early, think around or cast your mind around for other things you have used or other things you wish you could use or things other artists use. Thirty seconds. and time. Okay, so now how'd you do? How many did you come up with on your list about?
I had 12.
All right. Anybody else?
I had about 8.
Okay,
I
good.
got, I
I had
got
about
15.
10.
10, 16, 12. Perfect. Okay. Yay, it worked. All right. So I was like 2 or
I,
25, not going to work. So if you can go down, my list is like 150. I don't know. What I'd like you to do now is go down your list of materials, and I'd like you to think about the sensual quality of the materials. What is the touch, hopefully not taste, but possibly smell, feel of each of these materials in the hand as it transfers to a surface? Like, what is the sensual quality of it? So scan your list and pick 3 that have a high ping for you as far as sensation goes as you're looking. And then pull those 3 out and pop them in the chat for me. And I'll pop yours in the chat for you. I'll pop your chat. Okay, just take a minute to do that. Or 2.
I have one thing, but 3 different forms, and
Okay,
all include 3 different essentials.
sure. If they have unique sensations for you, if each form carries its own sensual quality, yeah.
Yes, because this thing is the thing I'm thinking of is quite um it's between the vulnerable and the strength. It's something
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead and
in the chart.
so pop down what it is, ice, water, and vapor. Ooh, very nice. Yeah, yeah. So these are your materials: willow charcoal sticks, slate, expendable sheets of cartridge. Nice. Anybody else?
Not letting me do it.
There we go. Charcoal, leaves, film.
Okay. H H2O ice water with and solid blue.
I put mine down. They are oil pastel, disc sander, and hot glue.
Okay.
Charcoal, fabric, woody, woody.
So
You
let's
go with
do
buttons. Don't have to.
gas rest.
We have 2 people working in ice. That's
Oh,
unusual.
really? Really? Who else?
Karen,
Oh,
nice. Biscuit cutters, yeah. Oil paint, acrylic. That's more than 3. Rainy Tong. Does not follow instructions like an artist. Okay, do we have everybody? Patrick, do we get you?
Seconds.
Prosecco.
Okay.
2 seconds.
Where are you? Oh, are you a little bit hot now, aren't you? Let's get this off. Let's get this off.
Is that our mascot, Vonda?
What?
We can only hope that's the dog, Vander, and not your hot husband or boyfriend or partner or.
Let's get that off.
I
Arms
can't
up.
see the window. Why can't I see the
Oh, you
window?
can't see your chat?
No.
I'm sorry, I thought I was on mute. But it's my dog.
Patrick, do you want me to write it in for you?
I got it now.
Okay, great. There we go. Steel, latex,
Fabric.
stretch, semi-transparent fabric. Excellent. Motherboards, bulky, ungainly, full of hidden info. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we have some items that are just items, and then we're starting to already get some descriptives about what it is that draws you to it. So looking at the list of materials, we're going to do this two ways. The first way is you're going to write about your own thing, and I will help you with that. And then we're going to pass that thing to another person, and they're also going to write about it. And then they're going to share first, and then you're going to share. So in this way, we share our sensual affinities, and we start to mine how we experience something and how somebody else experienced something. Because most of these materials on here, we've all touched or dealt with. You know what I mean? But we all have a unique relationship with them. Wood, earthly, dogwood, bendy, repurposed and organic. Great. Okay. So if I was to say oil pastel, right? So, okay, so I'm going to pick out of mine, I have oil pastel, disc sander, and hot glue. So if I'm thinking about that, I'm going to choose one of those things. So I'm going to choose oil pastel. And the reason that I'm going to choose that is because when I was thinking through those, the first thing that I thought about was how it felt in my hand. And because it's a hot day, they're really melty today. So there's something really special about them today that's kind of with me. So think about which one of these three items you have the strongest, like tactile memory of that you can recall really quickly. Okay. And pick that one thing. Okay, and before we go any further, I'm going to read you guys something else. So you can switch your thing if you want to. This is from Bodywork, The Radical Power of Personal Narrative by Melissa Febos. This is one of the best books I've ever read in my life about making art. So she is an ex-dominatrix who wrote a autofiction book about her life as a dominatrix, and then she wrote this book about writing about her life. But autofiction is very much like painting or making sculpture or any kind of art, in that art, I believe, comes by, through, and about us and transmutes into something to be read by the world without us present. And so it's a very strange personal to public kind of thing. And we can erase ourselves and make it quite conceptual to a certain extent, but it always came through you. And so it is indelibly imprinted with your you-ness, no matter what. And so mining that you-ness, honoring that you-ness, and mining that you-ness helps bring you to your writer's voice, I believe. And Melissa Febos really talks about that in some powerful ways. So if you want some inspiration, if you want somebody to kick your butt and get you working, read Febos.
How do you spell that?
Febos. Melissa Febos. And it's called Bodywork, The Radical Power of Personal Narrative. And it looks like that. Okay. She says, I don't mean to argue that writing personally is for everyone. What I'm saying is don't avoid yourself. The story that comes calling might be your own, and it might not go away if you don't open the door. I don't believe in writer's block. I only believe in fear. And you can be afraid and still write something. No one has to read it, though when you're done, you might want them to. One of the epigraphs of my second book, though it could be an epigraph for my life, is a quote from the British psychoanalyst D.W. Winnicott. Quote, "It is a joy to be hidden and disaster not to be found." Almost everything I've ever written started with a secret, with the fear that my subject was unspeakable. Without exception, writing about these subjects has not only freed me from that fear, but from the subjects themselves and from the bondage of believing I might be alone in them. So I really want to invite you guys in this safe little group in a recorded stream that's not being published to the Padlet to not avoid yourself. So if you find that your affinity for this material that you've chosen takes you to a strange place that you're not sure you should write about, and that you have the urge to dress it up or clean it up or avoid it, that sensation is the very thing that's telling you to go right there. So let's kind of make that agreement together that we're going to go right there. So what I'd like you to do is take your material that you've chosen and take a full minute before you write anything. And just kind of close your eyes if you want to, or stare out the window if you want to. Don't go pick it up, but just feel in your body what it feels like to encounter and engage with that material. And then when you're ready and some words begin to come, write those 2 or 3 words down, and then see if you can get some descriptive quality about yourself interacting with the thing. Does that make sense? Okay, so take a minute and feel it. And you have 5 minutes to do this writing.
But we're to choose someone else's,
No, you're going to choose your own first.
your own.
Do your
Okay.
own first, and then we're going to pass it on so that we have 2 things to read back. Oh, sorry. And just to jump in there, your voice can change as you like. So you might start by making a literal description. When I pick this up, it feels this way. And then you may allow yourself to wander a little bit. Sharp, spiky, like the heel of a boot through my heart. This broken charcoal stick pierces me in the whipping rain. You know, whatever it is. Like, let yourself get cheesy, let yourself be derivative, let yourself write and speak through the affect, the feel that you get when you hold this thing. So it's tactile, but it's also sensual. Oh. 2 minutes left. Final minute. And wrapping up.
I'm going to say that I found that quite hard because I'm looking at my text and it's very literal.
That's okay. That's where we often start.
Yeah.
So, in fact, before we go around and write about other people's, which is something that we will do, I'm going to take us through this a little bit slowly so that we have a chance to kind of unpick the process. So we can switch materials and go again or whatever. So, let's see, will I read to you this other thing first or yeah. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll read back to you guys what I wrote so that you can see kind of what I'm sort of going for, but there's no real rhyme or reason. So the process for me, so I wrote about oil pastels, and the process for me first is to sit and sort of think about how does that feel in my hand? So like I said, it's hot, they're sticky, too much comes off, it gets all over my hands. And I thought that I was going to write about sort of the mud quality and the way that it's the color adheres to your fingers. That was what my, excuse me, idea was. But being willing to depart from that once the writing begins, in the same way that you need to be willing to depart from the image once the drawing or the painting begins or the sculpture begins, is sort of an essential part of this. So I did indeed start with a word, which was mud, because that was the word that came to my mind. So often when I'm trying to do a piece of writing, I'll just start with a list of words. So I wrote mud, and then I wrote squish, too bright, interrupts. So I went away from the physical sensation of mud and squish to a personal sensation of what it is to observe it. Too bright, and what it does, it interrupts something else. So what I'm doing when I'm beginning these sorts of explorations of material is I'm looking at how that material speaks to me, to my hand, to my body, to my eyes, to my mind. So I'm sort of scanning around my relationship with the material. And I'm sort of stutter starting as I write, like mud, squish, bright, interruptive. None of it's really grabbing me just yet. But I was interested in the interrupts. So I thought, what happens in the interrupts? There's a void, a remove, a relief. And then suddenly I was writing, and so I let the words come. I didn't think of this first or think it up first, right? This sort of listing and noticing of the quality of the material brought some words for me. So $100 a smear. I wonder if the hands of a dilettante are powerful enough to wrangle these untamed marks. I bought them by accident, actually. I didn't know I was meant to buy oil sticks, and in the gleeful abandon of ADHD impulsivity, I maxed my credit card just 6 months into my degree, and even now they are a guilty pleasure. So it's about your relationship with the thing, but I think to get to your relationship with the thing, a really good way to get to that relationship is through the body, how you experience it in your hand. So I didn't end up writing specifically like they feel wet, they feel muddy, but experiencing the memory of what it felt like in my hand and beginning to list those things brought me to my relationship to it, which is actually one of extravagance and guilt. I didn't even know that until I wrote that down just now. And there's a quality, there becomes a character, right? The character is sort of me, but I'm letting myself write some autofiction, even though that's completely and totally 100% true. But we never say that it's true. We always say that it's autofiction because then nobody knows. Okay. So if you'd like to pick another one of your three, or if you'd like to go again with the same one that you have, let's take another 5 minutes and sort of see if you can call up that sensorial bodily entry point and let yourself work with the material in your mind and observe yourself working with the material and see if you can tell a truth about yourself with that material. 5 minutes starting now. 2 minutes. And wrapping up. And pens down-ish. Sharon, I'm always, okay. I so recognize that. How did we do the second time around, Yasmin? Yeah, better? We had a little.
Slightly, very, it's kind of stilted.
Okay.
It's
So
trying to get descriptive words about what I'm feeling is slow.
yes, very. And that's good because that means that you're actually paying attention and you're not writing until you have an authentic voice. So stilted is a judgment. And we always judge our work, but for the purposes of this, we're going to try to suspend judgment and let ourselves speak in as clunky, weird, stilted, wooden, disjointed, wrong language as possible without punctuation or proper spelling, because that's really how you get to the affect, to the way that the soul, if there is such a thing, to the way that the feels respond. Because this is the language that your art speaks in anyway, right? When you're creating a piece of work, you're creating something that's speaking in its own language and is read by somebody that doesn't speak that language. So art lives in the realm of the affect anyway. And so to write about your work, I think we need to understand how that affect lives in us when we encounter the work. So does anyone want to share their writing about their material?
I don't mind share.
Okay,
It's a piece of a fragment writing, but
good.
the first one I'm writing about ice, the second one I'm writing about water. So let me just start with the first one first. The hailstone. Oh my God, I couldn't recognize my writing. Hold on. It's
The
so
hailstone
bad.
confounds.
Okay, now I know. Okay, the hailstones were heading towards me, a moment of shock of dodging, then the hammering on the screen, a fleet thought, dazzling, is the illusion of dazzling becomes mushy and sticky. Yeah, this is the first piece.
Wow. So first of
And
all, everybody clap because that's beautiful.
thank you. I think
Yes.
the second one's better.
Okay.
Sorry.
I think but there are a couple things that you said there that I think are sort of beautiful turns and
Mm,
interesting confounded words. So like you described the hail as glittering and it came across as really sharp and fast, and then for it to
yeah,
go mushy was
yeah,
totally unexpected. So the
yeah.
transmutability of it, the way you wrote about it contained surprise. And
Because
that,
I want Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
no, that's really lovely. When surprise happens, whether it's aesthetic surprise, it's a sensation, it's an affect, right? This
Mm-mm.
feeling of shock that we get where we're like, that's not what I thought was going to happen, even if it's little, right? It brings us up on the level of affect.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, there's a when I write about mushy and the sticky, actually, I was thinking about some translation words because why I'm saying the mushy and the sticky because the hailstone and when it's mailed down on the screen, you can see the patterns and gesture. It's like, when you don't touch it, because at the first, first feeling is like, hitting me, and then I didn't realize actually there's a glass in front of me. So that's why when the stone's eyes mail down on the screen and creates this kind of a watery pattern, is a bit like a mushy and a sticky feeling. It's like a glue also,
Hmm.
just give this feeling to transfer to another item. So
And
it's
what's interesting is that this explanation that you just gave of your writing, which is really an explanation of your experience, we
Mhm.
get that experience in that brief writing. Oh, totally
Mhm.
got it.
Okay,
And
thank
this
you
is
so
the
much.
same thing as standing in front of your painting and being like, when I painted this,
Ooh,
and giving a dissertation, as opposed to being like, glittering, it falls unexpectedly from the sky and explodes on my head and dents the car, then mushy and sticky, it's
yes.
everywhere. Like, that's your artist statement if you're working in ice in this moment. That's great. Okay, read the second one for us if you're
Oh,
open.
okay. Second one, I try to make a little bit of connection with the first one I made, the first writing I made. The second one is water. So the poured it by the liquid without any pre-notice. The skin sense it, and this is a flow. What are I writing about? Oh, sorry. A skin sense it. It is a flow. This the thing without no smell and the aroma, just the gentle, but it's a strong, has the weight, reminds the cold, suddenly trembling, curring.
Hmm. I think the first one was more abstract. So the second one is more polished and fluid, but the first one has more bodily experience, at least to me as I experienced it as a listener. So
Mm,
just to think about that, like sometimes, when you go through and you're like, let me just blend all these so they look nice. You're like, you took all the life out of it. Not that you did, but think about that. Sometimes raw is really powerful. Yeah.
mm,
And would anybody else like to read? Sharon?
Happy to. I think that's what happened with mine actually. The second one suffered that fate. Um, mine's long, thin sticks of willow. Brittle, long, elegant, thin sticks slide from the box. Approaching paper already marked. Thin lines become more marked. But when pressed, they bend and snap. Now halved, there is more torque. Turned on its edge, free to take up more space. Lines, lines, incessant lines. Overwriting lines, harsh, soft, almost their lines. The other hand joins, erasing, smudging what went before, overwriting again to establish darker dominance. Touch, delicate, smudge, crumble, dust. So actually, I ended where you started.
I mean, so I think it's really fascinating to listen to that because anyone that has ever drawn in charcoal, you have described the freedom that happens when you start with this long, skinny thing and you're like, okay, here we go. And then you can't really begin to draw until it breaks and you're like, fuck it, we're going sideways. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because it just keeps crumbling. So this is a familiar thing to everyone that's drawn. So you immediately transfer out of your body and into our bodies. So we're with you on that journey. And again, this is something that could be an artist statement if you wanted it to be. If you're presenting works in charcoal, or you get to your works by working through charcoal, you can write something like that, and that can be your statement. It's totally valid.
Yeah, brilliant.
Do you want to read your second one so that we can
I'm happy
get
to
some more
see
of you
can
for being all
yeah
tidy?
compare and contrast. Thin, elegant, brittle, grainy, emerging from the box, from the blackest tissue. Wrap, sorry, so brittle, so frail, but you have flex. You bend as I begin to demand more. until I push, you snap. I pick up where you break off, grinding you into the tabletop, because now dust, my fingers pick you up in a different way. And I smudge my drawing into view.
That's really interesting that you went from your physical experience. Yes. Right, Rainey. That you went from your experience as sort of a disembodied body, like we become the hand in the first one. And in the second one, you assert dominance over it. I ask this of you, the you is charcoal. And as listeners or readers, the first one that pulls us into the experience and allows us to do it with you is indeed, I think, more accessible. Yeah. So it's interesting. Yeah. Don't doubt yourself, Yasmin. Sometimes your first trip down the awkward stairs is the best one. All right. Anybody else? Who else would like to read? Yeah, Karen?
Okay, mine are really short. Um, okay, the first one, I'm writing about the accordion pleated sort of box camera, so all the old-fashioned equipment. So I start with the first one is heavy, worn at its edges, folded in on itself from before, elsewhere, not here, incomplete. Never finished, a vehicle to the inner material only, a frame, useful, changeable. So that's the first one, sort of descriptive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the second one is leather, creak, cracks, worry. I think who used it before. Too expensive a present, only £25. That's it.
Wow. Yeah. So really interesting. The first one is outside looking at, like you can feel you as a writer approaching the material, and the second one is your relationship to the material.
Yeah.
Right? Do you guys feel that as you're listening? So these are excellent examples of how you can write about your materials and how that writing about material can lead you into your own work too. So regardless of writing something for this book, like stop thinking about for this book, stop thinking about to be published, but thinking about what it is to write your work into being, you can describe to yourself the things that surprise you about the materials that you are attracted to, and that surprise can bring you into new understandings of your own process of allowing the image to arise or the object to arise. Yeah, that's really lovely, Karen. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Anybody else want to share?
I can do.
Okay.
Latex. Stinging smell of pungent vapor. Liquid coagulates too fast, too fast. Spread, dip, fingers burn, burn, burn. Ammonia in my throat. Choke, choke. Liquid, solid, back to the lab without any method.
Yeah. Patrick.
And
A poetry slam about latex. That's brilliant. Yeah, lovely, lovely. And isn't it interesting? Like I don't work in latex, but so hearing what somebody else's affinity for their material is, like when you work with something, you know it so intimately like a lover. That's why the writing can be surprising and subversive and exciting without actually writing it like a love story. When you talk about that stinging smell and the sort of repetition that you use, the urgency that you use, dip, spread, dip, fingers burning, like this the cadence, brings the intimacy there also. Yeah, really nice. Really, really
I have
like,
another one
yeah,
about
please.
canvas. Stretch it perfectly, warp and weft aligned, perfect surface, like the house squared up. Off to infinity we go. No, break it, cut it, tear it, fold it, remove it all, move all control, crumple it, fold, clip it, fold it. No more symmetry, no more control, no more hand.
Nice. Awesome. I think we have to have you come and read at our next writers workshop for Rupture. Oh, I wanted to Well, I guess we'd talk about that another time. Sorry, I got excited. Any other readers? Yeah, Rainy, please.
I only read the second. I read about apple. Her sweet juice softly touched my teeth. She go away. She feel the air. She going soft. She going rot. She and our breeze with rainy eyes.
I love that an apple is your material too. It's such an unexpected thing, right? For an artist to be working with an apple. I mean, it's what we do. But she going soft. It's interesting how we anthropomorphize our materials too. I mean, they're so readily available for us to turn them into other beings because we're alone in our studios and we talk to our paintings, we talk to our hands, and we talk to our materials all the time. I'm like, where are you, green? Oh, there you are. You're already doing it. Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rainey. Yeah. Anybody else?
I could do it, but I use I don't know if you can see me.
Yeah, there you are.
Can you see me?
Yeah,
I can't see me.
we can see you, Chad. You're fine.
Okay. Well, have got an obsession with biscuit cutters, and and this sort of made me think about my. So biscuit cutters feel shiny, jagged, familiar, unfamiliar. Outcomes of sugar to come, and it presses on the soft surfaces. It carves the shape. It can live in a group, a pack of biscuit cutters. Familiar outlines made into minute bites to digest, tessellation of shapes in the night sky, can be a giant constellation of stars beaming. And then I wrote down distorted edges, unfamiliar like shells, rocks on the beach, weapons to cut into tattoo, into clay and pastry, forming chains, new frontiers, mapping terrains, unfamiliar crevices, ease to cradle and carry, probe and follow outlines, can be stacked and tessellated.
Wow. Wow.
So
I like,
I play with them all the time.
yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, this is again her unique familiarity with this. I mean, I have a relationship with my biscuit cutters, but not like that.
I love them. eBay, I love them. I have hundreds.
What I thought was
Hundreds.
really fascinating was in the sort of second one when you said, and then I wrote. And so the sort of like the writing came in two bits. And the second one, biscuit cutter as weapon, biscuit cutter as finder of topography, biscuit cutter as maker of constellation of stars, biscuit cutter as a stackable item you can put on a shelf. These are such widely different personalities that the biscuit cutter has. So you might think about continuing that just sort of listing of it is a really interesting way to kind of get all the qualities of your biscuit cutter, this sort of all her guises, as it were, or his or theirs.
I love Chud too, that line, lives inside other biscuit cutters.
Right, that.
So true. They all nestle inside each
But
other.
they do like to live in a pack. They're like little, dogs actually. They like to live in a pack. So when you buy them, they're always like a house ones or animal ones or circus ones. You never find one on their own. It's weird.
I mean, that's another beautiful piece of writing like that. Biscuit cutters, like dogs, like to live in a pack. You never find one on their own, do you? I mean, this is the beginning of a Virginia Woolf story. Like,
But when you do, it's really sad, right? When you find one on its own, it's
where's
really
your
sad.
mate?
You find a
I
sea
know.
circle.
And there's so much history in them as well, and so much. It's the home. It brings the home, but at the same time, I mean, I was using them because of sugar and trade, and also because my father was a tea planter, so we had biscuits all the time, drinking tea. It was all tea time was very important with biscuits, and so but it's also the children play with plasticine with it, but they also learn to cook with it. So it's got everything in it. It's got
Yeah,
my life in it.
exactly. And so you have your entire life in a piece of charcoal, your entire life in a piece of hail, your entire life in the lone biscuit cutter, how sad by itself. Evocations of I mean, I think it's really important to understand that the deeper into you unapologetically go, the further into your own work you can pop up and appear from. Yeah, so you have the ability to see your work from all angles through the material. And I think that that takes some of the pressure off of yourself about trying to explain your work, which I don't really think is our job anyway. You're basically adding another piece of art when you write, a bit of text adjacent to your visual work. And they create a relationship that sometimes builds a beautiful bridge. And sometimes the text becomes the work and the visual piece actually goes away. Speaking of which, let's take a short break before Vonda, you're going to share, yeah?
You muted.
You're muted. We can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay, no, I'm
Yep.
muted. You want
Okay.
me to share?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll read this after. Go ahead. Yes, share.
Oh, okay. I chose something that I can only imagine using because I've never used, which was leaves. And then I thought many types: dried, disintegrate to dust, rub the dust over the paper, rub the dust all over my body, roll in the dust, mix it with water, make it muddy, make it slimy, brown, grey, cool it, rub it all over the canvas, rub it all over my body like a clay cleanser. And then I thought of a different type of leaf, which is all part of the same leaf thing, a green leaf. Green, fresh, sharp leaf. Push it hard to squeeze out the green, oily liquid. Electricity, the canvas with its chatterer's glow. Like electricity, the canvas with its chatterer's glow. So that was the first one.
Wow. Wow, I love it.
It's so beautiful.
Were you guys all rubbing yourselves with leaves while she was describing that? Like I was totally rolling around on the floor covered in
Getting into the leaf.
Yeah, fantastic. Do you want to read the other one?
Well, the other one, I think I sort of did the thing that you said. So I chose film because I've used film a lot, but it's always one step removed. So I had to think about that. Film, glossy, shiny, impenetrable, transforms to image, the unseen, the invisible that reveals and hides in speed. Skiing, driving, capitalist guilty pleasures, to escape the everyday of hiding hidden voices that haunt and taunt paranoia.
Mm, mm. Yeah, so you're still one step outside of it. You're not quite in the personal relationship with the film, but you're heading toward it, you know what I mean? You're skiing toward it. So yeah, what is that sensation, the unique sensation for you of capturing it or of missing it or of not being able to find it again or of remembering that you took it and having it look different than that, or you know what I mean, those you experiences within the film. It's probably the next step in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
you go in the Patrick direction and take yourself into the dark room and talk about that. I mean, I don't know if you develop your own film, but
I used to.
well, there you go. Yeah. So there are some sensual qualities to a dark room, are there not? I mean, what a
Of course.
I mean, I was on our high school yearbook team, so that's probably why I think a dark room is sensual, but that's another story for another time. This is this is a wonderful book called Please Pay Attention, Please. Bruce Naumann's words. Let's see. Please pay attention, please. Bruce Naumann's words. And in here, he has a lot of text, obviously. This prose piece was conceived as part of the installation Cone's Cajones, first exhibited at Leo Castelli Gallery in 1975. I love it just as a piece of writing. I mean, this is 1975. We're starting to sort of put out a lot of conceptual work. We're nailing theses to exhibition walls instead of producing work and those kinds of things. So text as art, text standing in for art, thoughts as art or instructions. Yoko Ono is working at this time giving instructions, and that's her work. So this bit of text is called Cajones. I want to get the whole. I'm trying to get everything accurate. I want to get the whole. Here is every. Here is the whole. Everything. Accurate. Precise. Imagine accidentally coming upon a line and adjusting yourself so that the center of your body lies on that line. When you accomplish this, there is no next step. Take my meaning, not my intention. You will just have to do something else. Here is every. Here is my precision. Here is everything. Apparently, this is my whole. Apparently, this is my meaning. In parentheses, I have precise but mean intentions. And then he goes into he starts to drop some text and it says, ere he is very. Let's talk about control. We were talking about control. We are talking about control. So this kind of writing, which can feel nonsensical, but is a journey through the artist attempting to create a piece that is also a thought experiment. At the same time, I mean, and this is my reading of the work, but at the same time as producing the work, he's producing his frustration at producing the work. And we've all had that experience of wondering if we are like, is this thing on? It's kind of the experience that he's having here. He's at once insisting, I've made the work, and at the same time saying, you don't have to agree that this is work. You can go do something else. So I want to invite you as we carry on with these exercises to let yourself confuse yourself, to let yourself maybe write something that is nonsensical if you start to go that way. Let it not make sense. Let yourself drop letters or switch tactics. Let yourself fail a little bit. Because when we're too careful and we're trying to write something that comes out specifically, we miss these kind of deep connections. And you might get out of, a nonsensical page, a sentence or two words together that actually, when you lift them, can explain the world to you. Just a happy accident there. So that's Bruce Naumann's Cojones. There's a lot of text in here. So that's a good one. I'm also going to give you one more hit from Melissa Phoebos before we carry on. I want to say that refusing to write your story can make you into a monster. Or perhaps more accurately, we are already monsters. To deny that monstrosity is to deny its beauty, its meaning, its necessary devastation. Transforming my secrets into art has transformed me. I believe that stories like these have the power to transform the world. That is the point of literature, or at least that's what I tell my students. We are writing the history that we could not find in any other book. We are telling the stories that no one else can tell, and we are giving this proof of our survival to each other. What I mean is, tell me about your navel. Tell me about your rape. Tell me about your mad love affair, how you forgot and then remembered yourself. Tell me about your hands, the things they have done and held and hit and let go. Tell me about your drunk father and your friend who died. So some fierce, fierce freedom and a call to action from Melissa Phoebos. Let us be brave enough to talk about charcoal in this way. Okay, so now what I'd like you guys to do is take a material from somebody else's list. So you can look in the chat here. And if this doesn't work for you, you can take another one of your own. But I'm curious how we do with this. So scroll to somebody else's. And Vonda gave us a great example of this. She's never worked with leaves, but she can imagine how it would be. So if something's calling to you that you'd like to steal from somebody else, and you don't directly work with it, then you have the opportunity to imagine yourself in relationship to that material, and the affect should arise. And as the affect arises, you can examine the affect and write about it. Does this make sense? Okay, so take a minute to scroll through here, pick your poison, and then we'll do another. I'll give you 7 minutes this time. All right, so I'm assuming you've picked your thing. 7 minutes starting now. We're about halfway there. Two minutes. One more minute. And just wrapping up in the last 30 seconds. And go ahead and put your pens down. Sharon, I'm impressed. Okay, so I'm curious, how many people wrote about their own items and how many people, okay, if you wrote about somebody else's item, raise your hand. Oh, all right. Yeah, ish. All right, half and half. Wow. Okay, cool. Um, Sometimes when you give permission, to go ahead and write about your own thing instead of taking the risk, people go for the safe option. So I'm impressed. And I'm really curious about the experience of writing about somebody else's. You can join us, babe. You can sit here if you want. Sorry, my Ellen has wandered in. So I'm really curious about how it's different to write about somebody else's stuff versus your own stuff and what kind of access you had. So I'd like you guys to share if you want to share, and then after you read, talk to us a little bit about what it was like how the experience was different writing about something that came from somebody else's list as opposed to from your own. Does that make sense? Okay, who would like to share their writing?
I can.
Great.
I didn't. Um, I can say that because I wasn't thinking about it beforehand, it took me quite a while to get into it. But it is something that I picked it because it was quite close to things I think about. So I didn't write very much. That was the consequence. But I'll tell you what I wrote. Oil paint, color, 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 color. I love it. Mix it, smear it, fill all the cracks, spread it, fill it, spread it, fill it, fill, fill, wait, wait, wait. Open it like a flower. So it's my
Wow.
folding practice.
Wow, Patrick. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. I was just enjoying it so much. I also the quality of your reading is really exciting because it adds an extra dimension, doesn't it? I mean, you could work with that on the page so that the placement of the words on the page tried to give the urgency that Patrick's voice has. And he could put that in a column and then move the word wait over close to the margin or put it in parentheses or put a slash in front of it, to kind of try and give it that hit that he gave it. So the way that you play with placing it on the page for yourself when you're writing it, as well as the way that can stand in for you reading it if you want a certain amount of emphasis or something. Did we lose him? Oh no, there he is. That was really terrific. Thank you, Patrick. And how was it I mean, you did explain that it took you a little longer to get into it.
Well, I mean, because which one? The one when I was talking about the canvas was really the other aspect of the exact same thing. I mean, what I often fold up canvases in a way that you can't tell what the final outcome would be, and then just rip them open. So it was just, but I hadn't really thought how to get into that. It was easier with it. I'd already thought about the canvas, so I needed at least 3 or 4 minutes just to think, how do I get into this? But
Yeah. And did you write the first thing that came, or did you sit with it for a minute?
I mean, the first thing that comes when I think about paint is color. So I just kept writing color, and I was trying to write about color, but that wasn't really. It is what I think about and what I spend forever. I mean, I started out by trying to write about that endless process of mixing colors, but it didn't really ring anything. So I took all that away and I just replaced it with the word color, and then really got down to the actual process of what actually happens once the colors mix.
So this is a terrific explanation of what it is actually to go through the writing process. You think you're going to write about a certain thing. You try and bring that certain thing to life, but often it won't come out. And if you like the tool of repetition, color, I'm trying to write about color, it's about color, I know it's about color, and sort of surrendering to that word just repeating it enough times allows you, I think, to let go of it and let the writing take you, which is really the act of creation. So when we're creating something new, we can't think it through in our head first and then copy it from our head onto the paper. We have to remove that impulse of wanting to write it or paint it or make it first, and then in a form of mimesis, just copy it onto the paper. So instead, we're in the land of poesis, where we're, a little more jazz, a little less like final composition sort of situation. Does that make sense? Letting the work lead you into the unexpected place. Yeah. Thank you, Patrick. Anybody else want to read?
I'm happy to. So I chose latex, and it's something that I haven't ever used, but I would love to use. So Patrick's was giving me basically all of the toxic, hazardous reasons why I shouldn't. When I read his first one, I was thinking, oh God, okay.
Unintended consequences of falling in love with the material.
But I have used some sort of clay skin that I was trying to develop. So I was trying for it to develop into the material properties of latex, and it didn't make it. So I was just trying to think about what would latex have that my clay skin didn't have. And so I just started with a list of skins, containment, stretch, and then went stretch marks. So that's where I started to go. Skins containing watery vessels, fit to burst, risking rupture, turning in on themselves, inside out, out inside, never ending, churning, tumultuous tummies, stressly stretched, shocking release, water crashing, skin discarded, hung out to dry.
Wow. And can you see how that might be an on-ramp to a new work?
Yeah.
So I think writing really functions both ways. We can describe our work to ourselves and understand existing work, but we also have the ability to tumble into new ways of making. So you described sort of the sensation, the sensorial qualities of these latex bodies without describing these bodies. And we all got the image of rupture and burst and watery bellies and this sort of that happens, So yeah. That's what's really amazing about the writing that's happening tonight, is that it's really full of sensation and affect. And so it's really powerful writing. This is first draft writing, you guys, and I'm totally amazed. It's really excellent. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Who else? Yasmin, you were going to read.
I'm going to be brave.
Okay.
This is me trying to glean from what's been happening today. So I've chosen hot glue. Gooey, burning, elasticators, spiders' webs, burning, burning. It's all too late, all stuck. No way out, or maybe there is. Fingertips, lumps on my fingertips, burning, burning, wispy strands on my shirt, tangled tendrils, drawing me, tugging me. There's no going back.
That's fantastic. Yeah, thank you. I mean,
it's an attempt.
So the reason that I think it's fantastic is because you went from the description, right? So you started with the list again. So like, what is the quality? What is the quality? I can hear you asking yourself, like, what is this? It's burning, it's sticky, it's spider webs. So you go through some descriptor and then you make the leap into the personal. It's on your shirt. You've you've made another nice shirt into studio clothes. Like we're right there with you on that journey, and there's this idea, there's no going back, this trappedness and entrappedness with the making process and with the work itself. There's no going back for you. You'll never not work with hot glue again, or there's no going back for the work. It's past the point of no return. We don't need to know because we're with you there. And so these sort of intensely personal relationships, they really allow the reader, the listener, to jump right in. It's great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasmin. That was really good. Okay, next. Yeah, Claire.
Yeah, kind of all the material, everything. I've used all of them. So Anyway, so this one I've gone for textiles. Soft, vivid texture, feels warm, woven, plaid, safe, wrapping fabric around me, pulling it, um, pulling at the cloth to get snug, blaming the loose weave for the lack of warmth, wishing for a practical cloth, not a fancy slip of a thing. What was I thinking? But then its colour, so alluring, so tactile, so beautifully soft.
Wow. Wow. I really like the that we go again from this sort of the qualities of it, this list, into blame. Like wham. You know what I mean? Many of these have this unexpected turn. And I think, was it unexpected to you when you wrote it?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different types of materials, but so that's why I started thinking about wearing it because then it could be a performance, and so yeah, and I don't perform, so it's kind of yeah,
You're
was a turn.
performing, you were sensorially performing inside your imagination
Yeah, yeah,
as you were experiencing this materiality, and that is the process of writing.
yeah.
Right? So when you're writing about standing on the hot pavement with your flip-flops melting, you can feel it in your feet, right? It's a sensation that you go to. So this is what makes the writing, the art writing, really fascinating, you know? And obviously, like your finished story or poem or artist statement, it doesn't have to be confessional or lyrical, but it can be, or it can at least contain qualities that make it exciting to read. Like art writing doesn't need to be boring or dry or technical. I mean, I don't think it should be. Like our first job is to break all the rules. So I want to really encourage you guys to continue down this road. Well, let's hear some more, but the surprise that happens to you while you're writing, I think is really akin to the surprise that happens to you while you're making. And if you can give yourself permission in the one, it's much easier to give yourself permission in the other, and they start to feed off each other. And that way lies freedom, I think. Yeah. Who's next?
Should I have a go?
Yes, please.
I didn't choose another people's words, but I kind of create sort of paths between, the material and the artist body. So, because this idea just come out, when you said starts, the time is starts right, and I was just quickly shifting around to another room to get the several piece of, painting, stroke. So, okay, let me read. Um, gaseous figure, gaseous form has no form. Melancholy has playfulness. Scream is ubiquitous, yet gendered silence. Air is swollen at any moment of rotation, in and out. Behold, vessel pumps the flow of blood. So this is how the work popped out.
Nice. Wow, like art emerging as breath or art emerging as bodily fluid, as emanation, bleeding your workout. But for you to be able to say, I bleed my workout without saying I bleed my workout, that's if I had put it to you guys, like write about how hard it is to be an artist and you bleed your work.
It's like a metaphor of the passion,
Yeah, it is, but
metaphor of the momentum.
it's written and read in such a way that it's totally accessible. Like it's not twee and it's not, because it's authentic, comes from your authentic voice as you're sort of
Mm.
feeling your way through it. So yeah, well done. Nice.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Have we got everybody? Vonda, do you want to read? Chud? Karen?
Yeah, I'll go. I'll go. Oh, there I am. So I chose charcoal, which I normally don't use. So I went into one and I said, burn the forest, take the twig and draw a trail to your Hansel and Gretel house. There are warnings of the of the witch that lives in the biscuit house. Crumble the charcoal and smear it on trees and sprinkle it on the ground. Use the sharpened charcoal to create a necklace to wear. After all, it's the same stuff as diamonds, the carbon graphite to adore.
Wow.
Oh.
I mean, yeah, that is truly awesome. This is really burn the forest. Let's just start there. Don't tiptoe around it, Chud. Let's just go for it. Burn the forest and wear it on your neck.
Same thing. Charcoal's the same thing as
Yeah.
diamonds, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
carbon. So,
So
but
I mean, it's totally surprising, this extemporaneous writing. It's beautiful. It's really, really powerful what you guys are coming up with tonight. I love it.
no, I think you brought it out of us. You did
Well,
it in a very gentle way because at the beginning, I didn't even put the camera on. I was thinking, oh my God, the dog's going mad, the cats are jumping about. And then you brought it out of us, and then we all sort of felt comfortable enough to share. So I think you did a good job here.
well, thank you. I think that that's really a big part of it, is making sure that you are safe with yourself and that you give yourself. So lots of times when I'm going to write, I'm like, okay, 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 okay. And I'm by myself and I'm still like, ah. So I have to sort of sit down and go through these kinds of being with myself, feeling it, letting it start to repeat, asking myself the question, like, what is the quality? And getting to this quiet place that Patrick was talking about, where you sort of feeling it. And then once the impulse starts to arise, allowing yourself to write it. But you have to make that safe space for yourself. So you have to be willing to write it poorly, write it wrong, write it stilted, write it twee, and it won't come out that way. It will come out like this, which is really brilliant. Yeah. Karen, are you going to read for us?
I was sort of in a way trying to make it into an artist statement this time.
Okay.
So I'm using, okay, water to ice, ice to air, sublimation, vapor, sublime, sublime landscape. Frozen film stops the process, interrupting white to black. But instead, here is black and black, gray and gray. This is a texture, and you can understand it, although it seems upside down. Although it seems upside, stick, not down, clean, not an easy read. Slow down, and you can see it as I did, as it was there. And then we go again. That's it.
Wow. I love too the use of
You
we
can't
go.
understand it, can you?
No, totally. Totally. I mean, in fact, I'm seeing your work while you're reading it. So I think it would work well as an artist statement, actually. And, you know, though it is upside down, I mean, there's your world in a water droplet. I love black into black and gray into gray. And that, what was the final statement? We go again.
We go again.
That's it.
And
I
then
mean,
we go again, yeah.
that's such a filmmaker, like back to one.
Yeah.
Go again, clear the gate. Right. So I like the use of the vernacular, which takes us into the moment of making or the moment of shooting. So that takes us out of the statement and into the action. And so that makes it a living, sort of powerful moment. So we're on the journey with you. Yeah.
Could we use something like that, say in our book project? I'm just trying to think, maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of ourselves.
No, this is exactly so. Okay, I will give you the spoiler alert. Which, Sharon, may I give the spoiler alert? Okay. So the spoiler alert is that next week, if with your permission, if you guys are interested, we will do this again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you sort of an assignment to write something ahead of time, with the idea that it might go into the book. But I want you to hang on to that word might, because you will just stop yourself from writing the minute that you think about it being in a book. So all of this work is trying to uncork you in a way that you can just write, so that you can feel, so that you can find another voice and another language that is within your practice. And therefore it can sit in the book because it's just work that you're presenting. Does that make sense? I think we think about publishing poetry or something and then we just freak out and we're like, don't know enough and can't write well, but that's not the point. In fact, Melissa Phoebos has something nice about publication. Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves one moment. Who's going to read next? Not everybody's gone yet.
I'll go.
Who is
And I
that?
think we also need Sally too, if she's writing in the background there.
She's rolling her eyes, but she may be roped into it.
I think so.
Want to go now or next?
Oh, whoever's going.
Oh, whoever's going can go first for Sally while I look at Melissa Phoebos. Who was that was going to go? Was that Claire or Vonda?
I said it, but Claire can go if she wants to.
Okay, Vonda. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I also chose charcoal, and the last time I used charcoal, I was very, very young. And I was trying to think about what you said about not making sense, just like, don't really care, just let it come out kind of thing. Snap. Shards make rain upon the perfect white paper. Black rain of grain, I smudge you in hope of definition, vain definition. An explanation denied by the rub. You snub, you stunt the knowledge, or do you? In the smudge of the charcoal, in the defying form, the charcoal glows. It knows far more than I in this non-controlling finger. Ha ha. This the charcoal rain of grain, of gain. It smudges, it's knowing, for one hopeful gaze. No, for our hopeful gaze.
Wow. I love that you go into like a little bit of beat, like you start to pick up the rhythm of the language and start to use sort of words that sound interesting next to each other, whether or not they make sense. This is something, there's a really wonderful band called, there's a lot of music that does this, but there's a great band from the 90s called Soul Coughing. I don't know if you guys ever heard, they were like a tiny little band, but they use language as percussion, basically. So it's the words are only there because of their percussive quality. And it sounds like it should make sense, and occasionally it does, but most of the time it's the percussion of the word that's really fascinating. And so that's and the beat poets kind of did that, you know what I mean? They would sort of deliver with that kind of quality too. And I like that it slides into and back out of that, And I also really enjoyed like the sensation of the grit, the dust, it's snowing, changes its quality, and then it comes back to the darkness. So you're sort of taking us into and out of the quality of the material. Yeah, that's great, Fonda. I was trying to look for my thing, and of course I had to listen because it was lovely. Anybody else on screen? Sally. Okay, here she comes.
Okay. I chose, I slightly cheated because I chose glue, hot glue, which I don't use in my practice, but I have used in Kate's practice. So, gun loaded, but be patient. It knows its own time. Pull the trigger, pull the trigger, pull the trigger again, again, and again. And then, in its impatience, it spurts. It spurts out in a hot, steaming stream of molten lava, burning its pathway through my delicate surface, blistering even through the protection. But there's an enjoyment, a satisfaction in the pain. You know you're working if it hurts.
Yeah.
That's for you.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I burned you. We're covered in burns, but yeah, that was really great.
Well,
I love that. I love the journey that it goes on, first that it starts with pull the trigger, which is really like aggressive, we're right there like, okay, sorry, and then for it to translate into patience, like pull the trigger is so immediate, and then it goes into patience, patience, patience. And so then we're with you in the glue gun, it would be interesting how you might title that, so that we don't know it's a glue gun at first, and then we come to it. I also like burning through my delicate surface, like you went suddenly to my delicate surface, like your own skin, your own clothes, as opposed to the surface you're working, or maybe also the surface that you're working. Yeah, really exciting.
She'll disappear again.
Yes, there she goes. Bye. Hang on just a minute. I want to find this thing. Okay. There's a thing that she wrote that I was like, oh, I gotta read that, and then I didn't bookmark it about. I might have to bring it back to you guys. I have all these notes in this book by Melissa Phoebos that say things like, I don't know if you guys can see that. Fuck yeah. Those are my intelligent notes in the margin. Anyway, when I find it about publishing, I will drop it in. Um, okay, here is a little more sisu for you, and then I'm going to give you guys your um, a very loose assignment for writing, and we'll talk about how to make it work for next week. Okay. I want the world of pulses before destiny. I want the prenatal and anonymous night. I want the arrival to see arriving. Acts of birth, potency, and impotency mingled are what I'm passionate about. The to be in the process of writing or drawing. There is no end to writing or drawing. Being born doesn't end. Drawing is a being born. Drawing is born. When do we draw? When we are little, before the violent divorce between good and evil. All was mingled then, and no mistakes. Only desire, trial, and error. Trial, that is to say, error. Error, progression. As soon as we draw, as soon as, following the pen, we advance into the unknown, hearts beating, mad with desire, we are little. We do not know. We start out avidly. We're going to lose ourselves. Drawing, writing, what expeditions, what wanderings, and at the end, no end. We won't finish. Rather, time will put an end to it. So let Sisu be your guide, your flashlight in the dark, your torch. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So for next week, I would like for you guys to write something of 500 words, no more than 500 words, about or with an affinity for either your work or your relationship to your work or your relationship to a material that you use in your work. So all three of these things can lead you to an opening for something that will be appropriate to put into the book because it will have an affinity for your work regardless. So if you can write that ahead of time, what I'd like to do is we'll come together. We're going to, maybe we'll email them around ahead so that everybody can read everybody's work first. And then we're going to do some work on each other's work. We're going to help each other develop each other's writing. So you should leave next week with the thing that you came with and at least one, possibly up to three other short pieces. So the first one, we're not going to try and perfect. It's not, there's a really great saying in acting called kill your babies. You guys heard this saying? Like, if it's precious, the first thing you need to do is get rid of it. And what you know, when you do it in a painting, you're like, oh, this part is perfect. And like the whole rest of the painting lives or dies because you won't let go of the thing that's perfect. Right? So we're going to work on killing our babies. So you're going to write something like we just talked about that has an affinity for your work or is about your work or is about material and your connection to that material, your sensual connection to that material. And then we'll work on that piece together. And then we will depart from that piece acrobatically and flipping through the air will land in unexpected places. And hopefully you will have between 1 and 3 pieces that either are already ready for the book or are definitely an ellipsis towards something that makes you feel more comfortable about writing about your work. How does that sound?
That sounds
Yeah, so
brilliant.
just a question. When
Yeah.
you say write 500 words on your work or affinity for your work, is this the work in, are you talking about work in general, or are you being more specific for what you might put in the book? Tell me more, a little bit more about what you mean.
So I would say in my opinion, and I'm not the editor of the book, so I'm not really sure how much it matters, but this is what I would think. I would say it doesn't have to be the thing that you're putting in the book, like the thing that you actually have a picture of in the book, because all of your work probably has an affinity for itself. So if I put a picture of my painting in, but I write about what it is to work with the paper. There are qualities that translate between both of those things. And so having some text about my experience with the paper might sit really nicely next to the body of the painting, or it might not work. So what I would say is ask yourself if you can write about the thing or the material of the thing that you're putting in the book or your relationship to the material of the thing you're putting in the book. But if you find that opaque and difficult because you're trying to write about your work rather than writing through your work like we were tonight, then take the pressure off yourself and write about another aspect. And don't worry too much about whether it's right or not, because possibly during the session next time, what we'll do is we'll read these works first, and then we'll talk about the writing as a distinct element, and then we'll talk about what you're hoping to put in the book, and we'll see if there's a bridge or a correlation there, and how to help get your engines going on the thing specifically for the book. Does that clarify?
Yeah, thanks.
We hope that we land on the book, but we're not going to even aim for it. We're just jumping off the cliff. The water is deep, there's no rocks below. Yeah?
Yeah, no, that's good. Thanks.
All right, wonderful. Well, that leaves us with 4 minutes, Sharon, to
wrap it up. Thank you so
wrap it up.
much.
Yeah.
I think it's been amazing. I have a couple of practical questions. When do you think we should have our 500 words? And should we upload them to a Google Drive that I send to the people that are just on the call tonight?
Do we want to open this up for other folks to join us next week, or do we want to keep it like this?
We could, that's up to you as to how you think facilitating the group would work, because we might end up with a whole bunch of people that I need to do a catch up. But
I think if they're willing to do the work or read the work, I think it's absolutely fine to fold people in. Because we all know everybody in the Wild Parlour and we already feel safe as a group, I think it's appropriate. If it was a sort of an anonymous thing, where just anybody could join, I wouldn't expose you to that kind of danger, but I think we can fold them in all right.
do you think is everybody happy to share this call tonight? Because then what we could do is, if they wanted to watch the catch up, they could watch it and then join in from there too.
Yeah, I'm fine about it.
Yeah.
Does anybody not want to do that?
Yeah, if anyone not happy.
I'm okay with that as well. But the thing is, next week, I think probably I won't be able to join because I will be in China. But I'm happy to share if someone else can read it for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, send it in.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll do the work on it, and then you can watch the call after and see what we did to your
Yeah,
writing.
that's great. Yeah.
I might do that too, actually.
Yeah.
And when do you suggest we have everything done and in?
So I like to have, let's see, so let's assume that we have 10 people at 500 words. So that's quite 5,000 words to read. So you need probably 3 days, 2 days to procrastinate and a day to read. So let's have them in by Friday. Let's say Friday afternoon, turn them in before the sort of end of work Friday. And then we have the weekend to read it and all day Monday when we finally sit down.
10 minutes before the call.
No, not 10 minutes, 3 hours before the call, which means an hour before the call, but you're fine. Give yourself a chance. Maybe you want to read them twice too, make some notes in the margins like, fuck yeah. Really intelligent remarks like that are helpful.
That's brilliant. I might also ask you too if you could jot down the references tonight, because I think the books have been amazing. That's been great. Those
Yeah, absolutely. Shall I drop them in the chat or on the WhatsApp?
Maybe on the WhatsApp.
Okay.
And then what I'll do is I'll email everybody saying, this is what you missed out on. Here's a link to it. If you want to join in for next week, this is what we'll be doing. Here's some reading to do in the meantime.
Great. Wonderful.
Fab. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Guys. Beautiful, beautiful sharings tonight. Really